you know, just one of those things we had. But first of all, I want to thank you for being here today, because this is, you know, it's incredible. You know, I hear the story of Mr. Schneider's block neighborhood, and I just, it shocks me and saddens me that any of this is happening in our country. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for doing your work to expose and talk about it, because it's just, it amazes me that this is still happening. And but I did want to, I know that Mr. Fitzpatrick asked a little bit about the funding, and you know, I know that you mentioned, Ms. Burns, you mentioned the tax exempt status, but I think we're also seeing reports that dark money is being used to finance terrorism abroad, but also here in the United States. And I think, for example, the Arab Resource Organizing Center, the fiscal sponsor of the Tide Center, a 501c3 left-wing dark money organization, is an anti-Israel group whose activists recently attempted to blockade the U.S. You're probably familiar with that. But I'm just wondering if maybe you could expand, and anyone, I will throw it out to anyone, on what can we, as the government, what can we solidly do to stop this, you know, the funding of these organizations? And I think, like I said, Mr. Fitzpatrick had mentioned a few of them, but I'd love to hear more solid things that we could do. Ms. Burns, you look like you'd like to.
Thank you for the question. I think in order to stop it, we have to know that it's happening. And we've talked about transparency and reporting for these organizations. We really need, I think, better, more enhanced reporting so that we can identify the sources of the money that's coming in and going out. As it stands, it's very easy for these organizations, whether they are sending money abroad to fund terrorism or they're receiving foreign money here to influence what's going on U.S. soil. We miss a lot of it because there is a lack of transparency in the reporting. So enhancing reporting requirements for these tax-exempt organizations will be key to beginning that process of stopping the money.
Thank you. Mr. Siegel, did you have?
I would just add that, you know, I think we need to make it very clear that if you engage or support anti-Semitism, you should not be able to benefit from tax-exempt status. I mean, we're seeing other institutions and industries responding to this, frankly, faster. You know, when it comes to Sami Dun, the credit card Discover has stopped, you know, enabling them to use their services. PayPal has stopped them from being able to use those services. So here you have private companies who are able to take quick action. We would think it's not unreasonable that the IRS investigate this more closely.
Thank you. And Dr. Small, you have some.
Thank you. And if I may, I think it's also important that the government investigates universities, because several universities are actually funding SJP on campus. And universities are receiving money from Qatar and Muslim Brotherhood associated foundations and organizations, and that needs to be investigated. And I also think, and my colleagues agree, that the Department of Education and the IRS should also enforce existing laws. And I think that's very important. And to look into Qatar, and there's the FARA issues as well in this country that needs to be addressed. And going back to Mr. Schneider, I just wanted to say, my colleagues and I, 10 years ago, did a report. We interviewed 10,000 people in 10 European countries, and we showed the correlation between what we call Israel bashing or anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. And those who are Israel bashers or anti-Zionist are 13 times more likely than the national average to be anti-Semitic in the classical sense. And this study actually helped to create, in the IRA definition, the link between Israel bashers, people that dehumanize Israel, and associate Jews around the world to state policies. So that connection is strong, and it's the cutting edge, I suspect, of the new hatred that exists there, the contemporary anti-Semitism.
Well, thank you very much. Ms. Burns, you had something you wanted to add?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to add, you know, another important component of stopping this activity involves OFAC designations of entities, both domestic and foreign. And I understand that may be a little bit outside the scope of the exact topic that we're on today, but the designations of entities that are aligned with terrorist organizations is extremely important for a number of reasons. One, it facilitates the government's ability to stop related organizations from financing them. Two, it disrupts their activity. And three, it provides information to individuals in the public so that they know what entities to avoid. I believe that we have seen a recent effort by OFAC to designate a number of foreign entities, but I think that we also need to be focusing on what entities within the United States that operate here also can be designated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you again for being here, and I yield back.